Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of Broken Brains with your host, Bruce Parkman, sponsored by the Mac Parkman Foundation, the national voice for repetitive brain trauma, where we look at the issue of repetitive brain trauma from two perspectives: repetitive head impacts from contact sports and repetitive blast exposure from our veterans' military service, and how these two conditions are impacting their brains and their mental health. And why is this podcast important? Is because repetitive brain trauma is relatively unknown, yet affects millions of Americans. It's not taught in our nursing, psychological, or science courses. And that makes you the front line of defense for this issue and those that you love. So every podcast, we reach out to researchers and experts and scientists and professional football players and parents that have lost their children, so you can get that 360-degree perspective on this issue and you can make informed choices. Today, another amazing guest, Miss Sheila Thelen, coming in from this woman here, and her machine is absolutely amazing. And what she's done, I've met her at several conferences now. She attended our summit a couple of weeks ago. But Sheila Thelen is the president of Vestibular Training Services and a master-rated figure skating coach. She applies these world-class vestibular training tools that are patent pending in an innovative presentation on how spinning affects the vestibular system, and it can improve the brain's ability to tolerate and to balance and the cognitive processes. Sheila speaks about applying world-class athletic training to the general population. This lady is changing brains all around the world with the spinning device, which ain't like the berry mixer that you had at the playgrounds back in your day. That's what I thought I was kind of going to go on. But Sheila, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we really appreciate your presence and support for the foundation.
Thank you. What an honor to be here. And these are the projects that matter. We talk about the general public, and we talk about concussions, and we talk about brain injury, and not just how it affects how it affects the entire family. So we're here to change the world with you.
And that's what's important, is that this is just not for people that have been exposed to trauma or brain trauma. It's for their caregivers as well, because they suffer too, right? Being a caregiver of a brain impacted survivor is not a lot of fun on some days. So I mean, yeah, there's actually a lot that this can do for them. So let's dive into it. What do you call it? Vestibular therapy, or what do you call this thing? What do you got?
Vestibular training. And what the heck is your vestibular?
What is
You
it?
know,
Yeah.
and I talk about education, of course, like we talk about you learned how to count calories and carbs and how many steps you needed a day. Like we all became educated along the way in different health things, heart health, like smoking's bad for you. Like we've all been educated. But here's the next piece of education that's really going to come to everyone in understanding where our balance and our spatial and our cognitive and our sleep come from. And it comes from this, and it's called your vestibular system. And it's right inside both your ears. So this is a blown up version, of course, but it's inside both my ears. And so, like, here's my eardrum. Here's my eardrum that then rolls into the vestibular system, and then that rolls out to the cochlea. So you'll see a kid with like a cochlea implant that's deaf. So with that, the vestibular system is these three semicircular canals, and they decide everything. So with it, inside it is a gooey gel. There's like a hair, like follicle on the inside of the canal. And then on the outside is what they call crystals. So those crystals, you'll hear people say, I got crystal problems. Okay. But really, they belong in the outer part of the canal. And the problem is they've fallen into the canal. So now the data isn't moving through in a nice, smooth gel freeway. There's a bunch of parked cars that the data's got to move through. And you just can't seem to get your life together because those crystals are blocking the data transfer. So with it, of course, spinning. Okay, we got some centrifugal force going. We're going to help move those crystals, yet at the same part, help that gel move evenly through the canals. And my favorite example, of course, is vertigo. So that's where you've had a pooling on one side of the canal, the other sides go dry, and then with it, your whole life flips over. Whether it's a day, a week, a month, like years of vertigo, people, their lives are just destroyed by it. But when we talk about those crystals, I love to talk about, like, ready? Concussions. Okay. Guys that ride in Humvees,
Mhm. Yeah.
horseback, joggers, aging. Like, there's a lot of reasons for those crystals to move. But can we get them to that gel to move more free flowing that then everything just gets better? But those concussion patients, all of them are struggling with vestibular. Okay, like all of them. They tell you not to say that, but all of them. Okay, like everyone's struggling with that vestibular. And I do have to say, after working with me for even just like 5 minutes, it hits everyone differently, but it'll hit everyone over the course of like consistent training, a 6 week, 8 week program. But once again, it's that balance, it's cognitive, it's spatial, it's sleep. And so it kind of hits everyone differently. And even I just have to take a second on my concussion and my PTSD guys all talk about sleep. Okay, like an instant improvement in their sleep, which of course, think of the cascade effect that brings to their entire well-being. Sleep, step one.
Sleep is a huge issue, and we're finding out that sleep deprivation might have been the reason for our son's decision to take his life. Is because, we all know you need sleep, but people that are suffering from severe mental illness don't sleep, and if they don't tell anybody, they get to a point where impulsive decisions become much, much easier to make. So you talk about data. Is there nerves in there? What kind of data is being transmitted? Is it like pressure, or is it like a nerve that's being blocked in order? And how does that get to the brain to decide it's not right, or it's just seeing
Okay, so
upside?
so your vestibular system is processing all the information coming in, especially from your eyes and ears. Okay, so what are your eyes telling you? What are your ears telling you? That's moving all through the vestibular system.
Okay. All right. And okay. And this part, so how does this relate? All right. So you got all the parked cars in there, right? And we're getting blocked up. I'm learning. Okay. And so tell me, what are you doing to resolve that? So how does this get fixed? All right. First of all, how many people do you think are impacted by this if they played sports or they've been in the military? You think they're, including me, think we're all pretty much all of us have a problem?
All of us.
100%.
And I talk all the time about, who do you work with? And I work with everyone with a brain. So I'm seeing improvements in kids with autism, like everyone with a brain, autism, aging, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, concussions, elite athletes. I work with Olympians and elite athletes and pro players all the time. Kids with ADHD, normal people, like I work with everyone with a brain, and we see success with everyone with a brain.
All right, so let me ask you a question. When them figure skaters go around in circles and you see their head zipping around, or ballerinas, right? How are they not? I've always just been mesmerized by the way they can do, like, all those pirouettes and come up and come down and spin on the ice, and then they don't fall over from dizziness. How is the vestibular system not being impacted by all those revolutions?
We've trained them. We've trained the athletes already. So here's my really, really famous video, okay, that NASA used. Okay. Obviously we shot it during COVID, but watch this girl. Holy sweet Jesus. Look at this kid rotate. Yeah. She speeds up, she slows down, she can follow directions. She super alert. Okay. A high end athlete. And at the end, she's gonna tell us she's not dizzy. Because ready, I trained it out of her. Really impressive. Okay, coming down. And then, of course, the most amazing part to the whole story. Okay, how dizzy are you? Not that dizzy. Not dizzy at all. Thanks.
Dang.
Have a great day. Video attending services. We got David. So even NASA was like, "Holy crap! How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I trained her."
And is that just getting accustomed to doing those revolutions, or to getting the parked cars out? Or
Absolutely. So her brain is just moving super fast. So what it feels like after you work with me the first time, it's not a sense of like dizziness and vertigo or barfing like you'd assume it would be. It's a feeling of alertness, sharpness, almost like a spidey sense. You feel like you can feel your brain. And that's what all my concussion people talk about. First time you work with me, but wait a minute. Let me show you more of like what I call a reality video.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Well,
pissed I couldn't get on the machine during the summer, but go ahead. I'm gonna have to
I
fly out.
know we got a lot of videos without you here. But anyway, so here's actually one of my really famous concussion guys. We call him Thor for obvious reasons. Okay.
Big boy.
It's a big dude. Yeah, big boy. And he had a brain bleed from originally a snowboarding accident. And then he went on to have the famous story of so many concussion patients, 10 more concussions on top of that. Kept hitting his head on everything he could, the walls, the doors, the bed, car, a board. Like he just kept hitting his head. So this is more of a reality video. And this is after about 6 months of training with me. But you'll notice it's not flying. It's not like the crazy girl video
No,
earlier.
right, yeah.
This is doable. This is achievable. And he's had about 6 months of training every week. But you'll notice he can follow directions. He's eye tracking. He's midline crossing. He's using both sides of his brain at the same time. There's a vibration that comes up from the platter up into his feet, up into his head. It's working that vestibular system, but it's also quieting down his whole brain at the same time. There's a zen to it, which I think a lot of the people at the conference even talked about afterwards, like the zen. But ready? Wait a second. Look at his face. I'm like, take a second. Feel your brain. Bring it to center. Feel the alertness. Wait a second. Hold on. Watch his brain kick in right there. There you go. Do you see his brain kick back in?
Yeah.
But like it literally kicks back in, which is the cool part to the whole thing. But we can see a change in their balance systems immediately after working with us. So in this case, he moved 83 centimeters in the pre-test, which put him in the 32nd percentile. And the thing is, when their balance starts to go, the anxiety cranks up. Okay, so if we can
Right,
improve
okay.
that balance, we can improve the anxiety. But then he drops down to only 52 centimeters of movement in the post test, which brought him up to the 80th percentile. Think of how much better your brain feels in moving from the second to the 80th percentile.
Right.
The brain feels good. The brain feels nice. It's a dopamine load. It's a happiness. So I talk about the reality videos of like we start slow. We start so slow and we gently work our way up. But talking about your son and talking about sleep, because I recently had the military talk to me about the guys go basically 2 days with no sleep. They've hit such a manic state by that second day of no sleep that they talk about it's unstoppable. It's absolutely unstoppable. No one can stop it. And that's when all the tragedy of their own death, much less the dog, the kids, the neighbors, like the family, like it's catastrophic. And the military talks about it's just so unstoppable after those 2 days of no sleep. Okay, but if we could go back and fix the sleep along the way, there's your executive functioning. And I always use my own weird example of when my kids were little and I wasn't sleeping enough. I cried all the time. Okay, my kids started sleeping through the night, and you know what? I stopped crying. Like I'm okay.
I just chucked my kids in the bed with me, man. That's how I took care of that.
And they still
If my
cried. I
boy
still
was in the bed, I could sleep all night.
Yeah, yeah. Now a kid woke up, I'm like, but like we all know, and we all know the feeling of not having enough sleep that we just can't decision make. We don't feel good. The world's moving at a weird time around us. I also compare sleep deprivation to being drunk. The feeling of being drunk that you can't, what's going on? I don't know. Can't decision make. The balance is off. Don't, what?
No,
You
I
can like, that's a perfect example, of like there's too much my brain is not processing correctly.
no. So so how many treatments does it take for this to start impacting, or how long do you have to? Do you take it until you're symptom free, or what's the protocol that's involved?
So, the first time you work with me, you feel it. Okay, like just saying, the very first time you work with me, you can instantly feel it, see it, and we balance test you pre and post. We've also brain scanned people pre and post just so that they really understand what's going on. And I'll be
Okay,
honest,
what did the brain scan show?
this is so exciting. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on. Let me just jump back and forward here. So wait a
Yeah,
minute.
okay. Yeah.
So most of my clients work with me 1 or 2 days a week. Okay, like 1 or 2 days a week, 5 minutes. They come in, they spin, they leave. Love it. They have a great time. It's in, it's out, it's 5 minutes. Then from there, it really sticks at the 6 to 8 week mark. Like most people, I can't run a mile and lose 100 pounds. Like it really is a 6 to 8 week program, and it really they can really feel that over the 6 to 8 weeks. My Although when I give them a chance to cut back at 6 to 8 weeks, nobody takes me up on it. I'm like, well, let's just cut back. Let's just do once a week or every other week. And they're like, see you on Thursday. I'm like, see you Thursday.
So how many times a week?
A lot of my clients, some do once a week. I have a batch that do twice a week. My athletes are doing it 7 days a week. And you're gonna love this. My athletes that came to me from the Ukraine, I got a batch of Ukrainian athletes that train here in Minneapolis with me. They said in Russia they were training this 3 times a day. Okay. So go Russia. Okay. That really is creating some of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. I'm not alone in figuring out vestibular. The Russians have figured it out too. Just saying. Just saying.
Yep, no, keep going. I'm sorry. You're on a roll.
So you're like, oh, thank you. So the answer is 6 to 8 weeks is the magic. Keep keep going from there. But do people stay with me for years? Absolutely. Like I really do have kids that have been training this for 10 years. Um, and but they're also on Team USA. So like it's fun to see that.
So when it comes down to RHI and RBE, we know that we have a damaged brain, but we also know that we're mentally ill. How would you say somebody's listened to the podcast, like many of us, and I want to get down to why this is not more prevalent in society, given the success that you're talking about. I want to talk about that. But how would somebody say, "Hey, I need this, man"? I mean, I got a brain. Okay, I got that. If you got a brain, you can benefit from this mental illness side. What is the interaction between the protocol? How does it impact the brain so that the mental illnesses do subside? Is there, is it a physiological thing, or is there actually some interaction with parts of the brain that alleviate some of the symptoms that these men and women are suffering from? Because it's amazing. Anything that can help.
So going back to multiple pieces of this. So brain scans. So when we brain scanned people pre and post, we worked with a company called NeuroCatch. And it's just this, it looks like a little cap. They do like portable brain scans. Very affordable, phenomenal product. So we pre and post brain scanned. And the example I want to give is the Thor video I just showed earlier. In the pre-test, after 6 months of working with me, in his pre-test, the head neuroscientist with us goes, "Are you sure he's had concussions? He scans normal." And I'll take a second to cry about that because he tested normal, okay, after 6 months of training with me. And prior to that, couldn't sleep, gained 40 pounds, couldn't work, light, sound, all those things that we talk about in concussions. Struggling in relationships. He lost his sense of humor and didn't even realize it. Everything was hard. He couldn't drive. And in that 6 months of working with me, all those pieces started to gently come back. And once again, first of all, the sleep came back the best, and he wasn't drugging himself awake and asleep all the time. So that piece alone and improving the sleep. Okay, well, neurologically, what did that do? It got other neuroplasticity to move. He felt better, slept better, was back
Mm,
at work, back in the community, could get around, got engaged, qualified for the World Axe Throwing Championships, like all these
dang.
pieces. And my favorite one he came back with was he was at a wedding over the weekend. He's standing in a circle of guys and he talks about he was talking shit and he could keep up with it. Okay. So where he talks about he'd always just stand there like this and be like,
Letting everything go by.
it was
Yeah.
moving. Conversation was going past him so fast he couldn't keep up. Well, now he's keeping up with the conversation and a part of talking shit, you know? He was
Was
so
he was
proud.
he was there anything else he did during that 6 months in addition to your therapy, or was it just your therapy?
It was just our therapy, you know, and he tried other ones for over 2 years and had just had 0 success, and it just kept almost getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and so he came and worked with me.
So why do I have to meet you at a conference in Chicago to know about this? Why isn't this something that's more understood, more out there? I mean, well, let me start with this. Have there been any studies done on this that have validated the efficacy of this treatment?
So, back to the brain scans. Okay, so he tests normal, and in the brain scan, pre and post, he only improved 100%. Okay, like he doubled his brain
That's
speed
a little bit, yeah.
and he used less energy to do it. Okay, great. Okay, from there, the same day, we also brain scanned. Um, this sounds so I always sound terrible when I say this. People that were never going to get better. Like this sounds like as a society, we're like, ah, they're never going to get better.
Yeah, we toss
So it was
people
a
aside.
lady, and here's that's our error and it's my error in this example. Okay, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm wrong. So a lady that had had strokes and concussions, once again, she improved by 100%. Okay, it was thrilling to see. The lady with early onset Alzheimer's improved 400% that day. And one of our gentlemen with special needs, high special needs, his left hemisphere was inactive in the pre-test, and in the post-test, it came up to speed and talked to the right. So his whole
Wow.
brain was working where it was inactive in the pre-test. And so all of these things come together. There are already 52,000 papers already published on vestibular. And I challenge people to go look at pubmed.gov, vestibular plus concussions, and 18,000 papers pop up. Vestibular plus autism, vestibular plus aging, vestibular plus fall prevention, vestibular plus balance. Cons- there are 10, 20, 30, 40,000 papers already published on this. Now,
So
why?
why isn't this on every street corner? Why isn't this in, biohacking? Oh, you got all these testosterone clinics, right? Saying, I'll make you feel better by getting your testosterone up. Well, if all of us have a brain that could be benefiting from this, I mean, this should be a widely approved hey man, go see Sheila.
Well, and you're gonna love this. So many people have tracked me down. And I talk about like it started out with one Navy SEAL and suddenly it was 4 Navy SEALs and it was
Oh yeah.
12 Navy like those boys can connect. Okay. I just want to take a second on networking.
They can make movies too.
Yeah. Yeah. They make really good stuff. So like
That's
the
a Green Beret
management,
joke.
I know, but like network. The boys can network like teenage girls.
The SEALs are very proactive, much more proactive than special forces and stuff. Unfortunately, we're trying to fix that, but because
I know, but
we're all in this together. Go ahead.
we're on this together. So it started with that. It started with like we are at a lot of like part of my boys in Tampa at the Bio Optimizational Institute were the ones I borrowed the gear from for your conference. You know, so the gears in Tampa, the gears in Colorado Springs, the gears at the Mid Atlantic Concussion Clinic over in Delaware. It's in Vancouver with Tanya Yardley.
What's the what's the
Amazing brain of patients.
what's the gear cost?
So, okay, so it's meant for clinical, okay? Like, although I do a whole thing on money is different to everyone. But it's not really designed for home
No,
setup,
no, but I'm
but we
saying
have
if,
people
if,
do it
if
all.
a doctor that wanted to offer this, what's the investment? Because we're
Right.
working on
So
a concept. We want to bring this to incarcerated people, and if it's not that much, we could put this in a van. We'll drive it up, drag it into jail, and let's spin some kids, or take it to the VA and let's spin some vets.
so you're gonna love that. We're teaming up with several groups to put it in like we call it a taco truck of neuro. Okay, like
Yeah,
the designs are there, we're ready to go. And our partnerships are really key too. So we've actually ready, we're in it, Lifetime Fitness. Okay, just take a second on that. Lifetime Fitness. So
that's
Brom, there's
fitness.
Their CEO came to train with me. The guy pulled down like 2.5 billion last year. Okay. But he spent a day coming to train with me and loved it to the point we teamed up with us and NeuroTracker, Dynavision, Maverick, balance tracking systems. Both my fly system and my rail system are all at their flagship location in
Hey,
St. Louis Park, Minnesota.
we need to get that expanded out. But again, I mean, I'd like to,
Yes.
we'd like to understand, what it does take because we want to go ahead and push some studies and get some of that out there and start pushing it out on some of these studies that while there's a lot of papers, I don't think there's a lot of population centric studies that we could do better or at least get the information because people are looking like, hey, how does this impact? Is there a veterans only study? Is there a children's only concussion study, subconcussive trauma exposure study, incarcerated people study? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we could do to validate
Yeah.
and get it going.
Yes. So we have, of course, our chief medical officer. We also have a PhD research coordinator based out of the University of Minnesota for those wanting to write papers with us. We have, actually, you're going to love this too. Our gear is, of course, made here in the United States. It's actually, my electric spinners are made by a batch of vets out of Delaware.
Nice, dude. So it's
So
made
a
in the
batch.
USA. So it's tariff free.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I
All right.
know
Well,
we're right here.
that'll help with the price. Good Lord.
Yeah, so but I also believe that, like, we're the greatest staff meetings ever because, like, I got a whole batch of vets on the team, and that that's really important to our company, and we're really producing some of the best products in the United States. We do have a patent on the fly system, and we have a patent pending on the rail system.
Good.
But
Yeah.
we're also in the early stages, like, and I keep saying early, and I'm sick of saying early stages, with the Geneva Foundation out of Fort Bragg. So, we are doing more and more projects, and they've been so kind and so lovely to work with. And I'm grateful to everyone down at Geneva Foundation, because
All right, well,
that's,
let's link this up. Our sponsor company's headquartered out of Fort Bragg. We have a very, very deep relationship there. So if there's any way we can help you with our connections with the military on Fort Bragg, General Menace is one of our board members, and he was the former West Point rugby coach. I played rugby with him a long time ago. All my rugby guys, we can all use this, man. You can trust me on that. So,
okay,
but
I
no, I
gotta
mean,
say rugby too. Wait a minute, rugby. I'm one of the people that has this at their house is Sterling Mortlock, who's the Australian national rugby coach, really famous rugby guy. Sterling Mortlock has it at his house in
yeah,
Australia.
rugby's a real man's game because we don't wear pads and take breaks every 5 seconds like those football dudes. So
I know, but I have gear in Australia.
no, and I've spent a lot of time in Australia. I love that country. And actually, they have a bigger problem that we have. I just came back from Australia 2 weeks ago. And the issue is when most kids get done playing football, they get done at high school, right? Very, very few kids go on to play at the college level. And there's no pickup football leagues. There are, but you got to bring your own gear. It's very, very expensive. But all you need to play rugby is a pair of boots and a ball. And so men are never done playing rugby in Australia, and they keep tackling and they keep going. And unfortunately, it's a more difficult situation because rugby, like football down there, is an absolute religion, right? Footy is what they call it. It's a religion, and they have
Yep.
an even more. They got rugby union, which I played, which is the guys that smack together. Then they got rugby league now, which is an even faster, harder hitting form of the sport. And they got Australian rules football. I mean, everything down there is about hitting people, right? It's a great country. I love it. But yeah, I can see if you and we definitely need to get your stuff down there. That's for sure. And they keep
Yeah,
that
there's a
going.
new neural lab. Yeah, there's a new neural lab just opening in Sydney in the next couple weeks, and our gear centerpiece of it. Yeah, so we're
Nice. That's
becoming more and more part of like more and more neural labs. But of course, what's the answer? Community centers, workout places, schools, all of these things we are easily a part of, easy product to move, easy to train people on. I have 8-year-olds that run the gear for their parents.
yeah. No,
Super easy to apply. You saw me run it.
this is something that every community health services can offer. I mean, gosh, juvenile courts, I mean, we could put people through treatment and just see if we can improve their lives and their ability to stay out of jail, stay off the streets. I mean, just think about our homeless population. How many of those folks, I mean, most of them are homeless because, unfortunately, of their mental health problems. This is, and then we have, of course, our issue, repetitive brain trauma, where we have millions and millions of folks that are out there. I just got my atlas adjusted the other day, and that was a crazy experience for something that, and very, very impactful. We can talk about that in the show, but it was another very very an unknown upper cervical chiropractic procedure that had enormous impact on me personally because of where
Mhm.
I didn't even know what an atlas was. So here in another week, we find out another treatment that whether, just by themselves or together with other treatments, right? We can literally take people's pain away without all this pharmaceutical crap that's going on. All right, so let me ask you this. You've treated thousands of people, of course, right? How many of them were able to come off or showed up on some form of psychiatric medication for anxiety, depression, whatever their issues are, and were able to come off those substances through the efficacy of your protocol?
The numbers I always consider staggering. I have so many people come in, especially on the pain pills. To be on back to Thor's story, is of course the docs just kept handing out pain pills to him. And what he didn't realize because he was concussed is how constipated he was. And he didn't realize it to the point he ended up in the emergency room thinking he was having a heart attack. And really, it was 30 pounds of poop
Holy cow.
pushing up. Yeah. 30 pounds. He's a big boy, but still, like, can you
Those
imagine
pain
30
meds.
pounds?
So were these
Yeah.
also antipsychotic meds too, or just for,
He talked about his general statement was it was pain pills. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And
Well, if
but
you've
he's
treated veterans, you've treated guys that are on bags of pills because that's all they get when they get out or when they're in, right? When they're in, we got veterans right now on just bags of medication that, gosh, if we can get them off them, I keep talking to veterans that go cold turkey off, 15 medications. And, they go to their provider and say, look, I want to decrease the good dose because I think this is affecting me, right? I don't want to be, nobody wants to be on. And you're like, well, no, actually, we need to increase it. I mean, I hear these stories all the time. And it's like, I don't know who gets paid for this, but there's got to be a better approach. And that's why conversations like this are so remarkable for our audience because like, all right, I'll guarantee you half the people right now, I mean, all right, our entire audience has a brain. And I guess like the other day we talked about ibogaine, its impact on suicidality and severe, severe addictions. Okay, I want to talk to you about that in a second, right? And yet here is a plant medicine that a one dose is eradicating life-threatening habits that nothing else could touch. Like these people have been 10, like Thor, right? 10 years trying to find an answer to how to get out of this hole. And they just keep getting pushed deeper and deeper into it with what we give them, which is therapy and medication, which doesn't, we got a brain here. We got a brain problem here. And you're addressing that, right? Without addressing this, there's no recourse. There's no help. There's no upward movement away from the drugs and out of the hole. So what about, people that have shown, severe, addiction or suicidal ideation that coming to you? Have you had any success with alleviating those symptoms through the use of your protocol?
I was talking about it kind of hits everybody differently. But once again, like if I get them to sleep, life's better. And if I can get their
That is
balance
true.
to improve, then the anxiety cuts down. There's crazy statistics about all these kids, of course, looking at screens all day. And of course, they're
Hmm.
not growing up like kids. Okay. Like you don't need a paper on this. Okay. Kids are not moving enough. It's that simple. They're not rolling, flipping, rolling down a hill, not coming home till the lights go on the street lights. They're not they're not playing and jumping and spinning and swinging. Um, I just saw an amazing research project on tackling how did you calculate if the kid was screen addicted? Okay. And what they did to the kid, you're going to love this. They flipped them upside down, hung them by their knees, and then just kind of swung them. Okay. That's all they did. Something non-invasive, any parent can do it. Ready? And ready? The normal kids were like, "Wee! Yeah, they're flipped upside down. Wee! This is fun. Yay!"
Yeah.
And of course, the screen addicted kids flipped their shit, like total panic, terror, because ready? Their vestibular system doesn't know how to make a turn. Okay?
They've been
Because their
right
brain doesn't
side
know
up.
how to make a turn because they ready? Because this doesn't turn.
So they were in terror.
Terror,
Wow.
terror. Okay.
Man, that's
And well,
crazy.
so imagine your brain being like, yeah, we can only go one direction and we can only go straight. And we can't, I mean, we got kids that walk that can't move their heads.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
what
we
do we
gotta
do?
how do we get this out there, man? We gotta do more, man. God dang. So,
No, but these are the
what yeah. Oh, no problem, man. So, Sheila, let's go into. We always like to give the last 5 minutes for you to talk about you. What's going on right now? How do people find us? I mean, how do people find you? What's out there on the internet that they should study to get to know about this? Who should they be concerned to refer you? How do they find the equipment? Yada yada. Go for it.
So we have the goal of our company is we're an American manufacturing company that gets the gear into the hands of one great specialist. Okay. And that one specialist can help 1,000 people. What's their specialty? It can be anything. Anyone that works with people with a brain. Once again, like autism specialist, wellness specialist, an oxygen specialist, trainers, sports people, ADHD specialists, special ed. Yeah, like that one
Doesn't
specialist
matter.
can help 1,000 kids, 1,000 people with our gear. Aging, Parkinson's, concussions, it's all there. We offer training. The easiest way to find us, of course, is on the good old website, spinyourbrain.com. So spinyourbrain.com. The whole goal of us is that it's non-invasive. That's the whole point. Is I just take 1 second to get up and just talk about like what spinning does and like it's super fun and it's nothing scary. At what point were you like, "Oh my gosh, sit down, you're gonna hurt yourself." You didn't think that. Well, at one point, there was 0 concern for my well-being while I was doing that. Nobody's gonna worry about it. And so, like, these are the little pieces that we can really apply to the brain to have those functions really kick back in. It's a feeling of reset, it's a feeling of alertness. There's a feeling of wellness, okay, when you're done with it, that you're like, "That was weirdly fun." So there's a dopamine to it. All of these things are part of our humanness and our well-being and our brain function, like getting that nervous system to quiet down, not be screaming all the time. And if I can get the screaming to come down, boy, I can achieve so many other pieces to it. I'm big on LinkedIn. Love me some LinkedIn. I have that's my favorite platform. Of course, Vestibular Training Services is also on Facebook and Instagram, and of course, LinkedIn. It has its own little page too. So we're out there. You can get to us. Our specialists are worldwide, and we have locations all over the country. Although, of course, the goal is everywhere. Remember we thought it was insane that Microsoft thought you'd all have computers?
No,
When I
absolutely.
remember Bill Gates like, "Everyone's gonna have a computer." There's no
Can't
such
afford
thing.
that. Yeah.
And look at us now. Um, yeah, everyone's gonna have a spinner, and that's how I'm gonna change the world. And I'm gonna help millions of people by gently spinning them.
Sheila, you are amazing. And we just love you and what you're doing for humanity right now. And we have to get the word out, man. I mean, these non invasive treatments, especially with people that aren't in acute phases of taking, their lives or suffering from the impacts of repetitive brain trauma, are absolutely a lifesaver. And if we catch these folks at any time in their illness, we can help. So we've got to get more people out there. And I cannot thank you for coming up enough for coming on the show and sharing your tech and your technology because I've seen it. My wife did it. She was like, you better get over there and get on that spinning wheel. I was like, yes, man. So, yeah, but we
I
got to
can
get
still
you
send
on.
you to Tampa. I still got you in Tampa, but,
All
like, my
right.
boys
I'll
at the
be
bar.
back. I'll be back on Friday. And then next week, we got a lot going on. But thank you so much. And we will
Let's team up.
definitely Yep, we'll be pushing you, and I absolutely want to work with your grant writers on getting some studies here in Florida to go ahead and not only validate, but I want to start treating. And I think we can go ahead. This is a very effective way to start bringing a lot of relief to a lot of people. Thank you so much for.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. I like this stuff here, man. So it's talking about this. Hey, another wonderful episode of Broken Brains, man. This is what we do, right? We find these amazing people. They find us. God puts us together. Next thing you know what's going on. It's something else for you to take care of if you're suffering or you know somebody that's suffering. But please get out there. Remember, we've got the Army-Navy game, December 13th. Fuel concert, 3,000 people are coming. Hot chocolate with schnapps. All you can eat, all you can drink, concerts, networking, all about veterans' mental health. What can we do for these men and women that have done so much for us that are out there right now? How do we find them? How do we try and diagnose them? And how do we treat them with Sheila stuff? Maybe you can take a ride on Sheila's machinery out there while we're at that show. Remember the book, only book for parents out there, Repetitive Brain Trauma, download it for free from our website. Don't forget our app on the Google and the Apple Store for Head Smart. And remember to please spread the word and get informed on this issue. Your children and you only have one milk. You only got one.